Hello students, this is Ratnam from Government Degree College Bodhan. Today I am covering the topic stereochemistry for first year BSc students. Let us discuss this on screen with my PPT presentation. From here onwards, a PPT presentation will be open. Please watch this. I will be explaining the topic step by step for you. Now you see the topic isomerism is in the fourth unit, which will be covering small parts of isomerism. As per the syllabus, we will cover up. Isomerism is a part that is a phenomenon mainly covered in organic chemistry, especially related to molecules and its their structure and other features of the molecules. As you can see the definition, yes, now you can see the definition. Isomerism is the phenomenon in which more than one compound have the same chemical formula but different chemical structures. As everyone know, molecular formulas are based on the number of atoms present in the molecule. For example, in organic molecules like ethanol, C2H5O, we generally write like this, OH. So this is the number of carbons 2, number of hydrogens 6, and oxygen is 1. So this is how we write the molecular formula of a compound. So for compounds with the same molecular formula but with different chemical structures or chemical properties, generally they referred as isomers. So the definition is given as chemical compounds that have identical chemical formula but differ in properties, and there is also a probability that they differ in the arrangement of atoms in the molecules. They are all called as isomers. So only formulas are same, properties may be different, and arrangement of the atoms around a specific spatial arrangement of the atoms in the molecule also differ. As you know, this is a Greek derived word, which is isomers is nothing but equal parts. It means equal parts. Now let us take up this classification of isomers, how differently the isomers are called. The possibility how to find the relationship of isomers, or at least whenever you compare two different compounds, how to compare the relationship between two compounds. Let us take this. For example, we have to check the compounds, given two compounds. If they have same molecular formula, you see here, if they have same molecular formula, then if molecular formula is same, automatically whatever the reasons, they are called isomers. If they do not have same molecular formula, if molecular formula is different at all, then they do not come under the category of isomers. That means if number of carbons or number of hydrogens or number of oxygens or number of nitrogens, sulfurs, whatever the atoms, if they differ between two molecules, then they do not come under this category isomerism. So it is mandatory, is a must to have same molecular formula. If molecular formula is yes, then they are called isomers. Now the second step we have to check is, for the given molecular formula is same for two compounds, then we have to check the connectivity between atom to atom. That means how one carbon is connected to other carbon, or how a carbon is connected to oxygen, or how oxygen is connected to hydrogen. So like that, the connectivity of the atoms is second step we check that. And if the connectivity is same, then they are called as stereoisomers. If the connectivity is not same, then they are called as constitutional isomers. So here the connectivity is the criteria to decide whether the given isomers are constitutional or stereoisomers. We now check that constitutional isomers means they do not have same connectivity, and if the two compounds or two molecules have same connectivity, then they are called as stereoisomers. And again within the stereoisomers we have two different isomers like diastereoisomers, enantiomers, based on the other properties that we check later. Now these constitutional isomers, which are nothing but they do not have same connectivity, how they are further classified, we will check that also. Now you see here the classification is somewhat more clear here. Isomers, on the left side we have constitutional isomers, that means they do not have same connectivity, they differ in the connectivity, and if the connectivity is same then they are called as stereoisomers. Again in the stereoisomers we have two further classifications, that is configurational, conformational. Configurational are based on the configuration of the molecule, that means how they are arranged in different positions. Conformational means the position is same but the angles are different. There will not be any change. There will not be any change even in the direction, but just their with respect to the other atom, how they are rotated. So we can see conformational isomers are something different when compared to configurational. In routine we consider configuration isomers again as two categories, two types, that is geometrical isomers and optical isomers. You see this geometrical isomers, most of the cases we generally speak cis trans, generally cis trans isomerism and we consider, whereas in optical isomerism we generally consider enantiomers and diastereomers, which we will discuss further. Now let us come back to our constitutional isomers. This already we have covered. Constitutional isomers are called the molecules with the same molecular formula, but they differ in connectivity. They do not have same connectivity. They have only same molecular formula. We see this. For example, cyclohexane, here it is given C6H12, and in the next compound it is also given 1-hexene. The formula is same, C6H12. In the third compound it is 2-hexene. The formula is same, C6H12. In the fourth also the formula is same, fifth also the formula is same. So molecular formula is same. In every molecule the total number of carbons are 6 only, hydrogens are 12. Whereas the structures you can see are different. First one is cyclic structure with no double bond. In the second one we have one double bond, it's open chain structure. In the third one we have one double bond but in the second position, it is also open chain structure. Third one is something different, whereas fourth one is cyclic but with two substituents. So the structures are very clearly different, we can see this. So this is what we generally consider as molecular formula is same but connectivity is different. So this is what we call as constitutional isomers. Let us take different examples in the constitutional isomers. Number one, chain isomers. Chain isomers are they are further called as based on the chain, based on the carbon chain. If the carbon chain is not same when compared to two different molecules, they are called chain isomers. You see this pentane, here the carbon chain is totally N-pentane. All the carbons, all the 5 carbons are connected to each other. Whereas in the same one, if you take isopentane, that is 2-methylbutane, here total number of carbons are same, total number of hydrogens are same, whereas 1-methyl is substituted to the second one. Second carbon is having 1-methyl as a substituent, Whereas if you take the third molecule, this is neopentane, it is having 2,2-dimethyl propane. That means in the middle carbon, 4 methyl groups are connected to each other. That means they are connected to same carbon in different way. So here pentane, isopentane, neopentane. When you compare these three molecules, you can see the difference in the connectivity. Number of carbons are same 5, and number of hydrogens are same 12 almost, but the connectivity is totally different. The pentane, all carbons are connected to one to other, that is a chain, whereas isopentane has one branch, whereas neopentane has two branches. That means there are two substrates to the main chain. That's why the name you can see 2-methyl butane, whereas the third compound is given the name 2,2 dimethyl propane. That is two substrates in the third one substrate in the second molecule, whereas there is no substrate in the first molecule. So this is called chain isomerism. That means there is a difference in the carbon chain from one molecule to other molecule. So these three molecules are called chain isomers. Number of carbons, number of hydrogens are same. Now let us take another example, functional isomers. Functional isomers are the isomers which differ in their functional groups. Here we have to understand what is functional group. Functional group is nothing but in organic chemistry we have so many functional groups like hydroxy groups, OH, or ethers, whereas aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acids, amines, and so many alkenes, alkynes, enes, ines, ones, so like that. Let us take one example and let us understand this. For example, here you see C2H6O. C2H6O represents two functional isomers. Ethanol, for example, you can see ethanol CH3CH2OH, CH3OCH3. You see these two molecules, you can see ethanol means CH3CH2OH, ethyl alcohol, and in the second one CH3OCH3. The difference is taken as in the first one it is alcohol, whereas in the second one it is the ether. The functionality has changed. Formula is same for both the cases, but the functional groups are different. Here it is representing alcohol, whereas in the second one it is representing a ether. So this is why we call these two molecules are functional isomers. Similarly, we have one more example, C3H6O. It can be represented as two different functional groups. One is propanol, CH3CH2CHO. Here propanol means aldehyde, whereas this can also be written as propanone, where the CO group comes in the middle, that is second carbon is having CO carbonyl nature, and this is called ketone. The functional groups are different. First one propanol is aldehyde, second one is a ketone. So the functionality has changed. Therefore, two different functional groups are represented with same molecular formula, though these two molecules are called functional isomers. Now one more constitutional isomer, that is a structural isomer, that is positional isomers. What we mean by positional isomers? Here the position of any functional part or any substituent or any key part in a molecule is changed, we call this as positional isomers. That means the isomers with the same molecular formula but differ in the position of any group or any atom in the molecule. For example, you can see in the first and second two molecules, both are same molecules, both are alcohols, both have same molecular formula, that means 5 carbons, and hydrogens and oxygens are same. In this first it is pentanol, that is OH group is attached to the first carbon, whereas in the second molecule it is attached to the second carbon. So the position of alcohol, that is OH group, is different between first and second molecule. First molecule it is 1 pentanol, whereas in the second molecule it is 2 pentanol. So this is called positional isomerism. Similarly, you can see 3 and 4. Third and fourth molecules, you see here. In the third one, this is 2-butene, or you can call butene 2. That means double bond is there in between second and third carbon. That is, the double bond is located in the second position. You can calculate that. You can easily see first, second, third, fourth. It is double bond is in between 2. Whereas in the fourth molecule, you see double bond is in the first carbon. That is, it is between 1 and 2. So CH2 double bond CH. So this is called 1-butene. Here third molecule, fourth molecule, both are same. Number of carbons, hydrogens, molecular formula is same. Whereas the double bond position is different. It is in the second position and it is in the first position. So due to the difference in the double bond position, they are called positional isomers. So 2-butene, 1-butene. Like that we can write any number of examples. A simple example here is also given. We can see this 1,2 dichlorobenzene, that is the 2 chlorides, 2 substituents on benzene are at positions 1 and 2. You can see this is also called ortho dichlorobenzene, whereas meta dichlorobenzene you can see the positions at 1 and 3. So position is changed. And you can see para dichlorobenzene, here the positions are 1 and 4. So this is what we call as molecular formula is same, all are having same number of carbons, hydrogens, chlorides, whereas the positions are different. The substitution is located in different positions. That is why they are called positional isomers. Now we take up second category of isomerism. Up to now we have discussed the first category of isomerism, that is constitutional isomerism. I just may bring a short notes of this. Constitutional isomerism is nothing but the isomerism in which molecules have same molecular formula but they have different connectivity. Based on that, we discussed 3 isomers. Number 1, chain isomerism. Number 2, functional isomerism. Number 3, positional isomerism. So these are the 3 different isomers we have discussed under constitutional isomerism. The structures are different up to now. From here onwards, we discuss stereoisomerism. In stereoisomerism, it is something different. The structures are same. There won't be any difference in the structures. Connectivity is same. That means the definition itself is like that. The isomers with same molecular formula and same connectivity, which have same connectivity, they are called stereoisomers. Then what is the difference here? How stereoisomers are different? You can see here the best example. Here the definition is also given that they have same atomic connectivity but differ in the spatial arrangement of the constituent atoms. Spatial arrangement, that means the spatial location is different. You can see here the first 2 examples on the upper side. They are nothing but butene, 2-butene, 2-butene. Both are 2 butenes. They are not constitutional isomers because the connectivity is same. But they are connected similarly, but the position, their locations are little bit different. How you can see this? It is in the upper side, it is cis molecule, cis 2-butene. The methyls are on the same side, hydrogens are on the same side. Whereas you can see the right side, it is trans butene. The reason it is The methyl is opposite to each other, whereas two hydrogens are also opposite to each other. That's why they are called trans. The methyls are attached a little bit differently, but the total overall connectivity is same. There is no change in the connectivity. That is what we have to observe. Similarly, here also you can see the alanine compound. Here it is CH, COOH, CH, NH2, CH3. In this, you can just observe these two molecules. Here COOH, CH3, NH2H. The arrangement is little bit different based on the clockwise or anti-clockwise arrangement of the molecule. You can just check that methyl opposite to methyl. You check this opposite to the methyl. That means when you view the molecule from opposite to methyl group, then hydrogen and NH2 COH, they are in clockwise direction. Whereas if you look at on the right side molecule, the hydrogen NH2 COH are anti-clockwise direction. So there is a small change in the spatial arrangement. That is what we call as optical isomerism. Actually, the examples are optical isomers. And the first examples are cis-trans isomerism. Let us take up that in detail here. These optical isomers are called enantiomers. How to define enantiomers? The enantiomers are defined as any stereoisomers. That means the condition is already specified. That means they have same molecular formula and they have same connectivity. That's why they are called stereoisomers. So any pair of stereoisomers which are non-superimposable mirror images of each other. That means there are two conditions here. They must be mirror images first. Whatever we are selecting, two molecules, they must be mirror images. You can see here the best and simple examples, they are mirror images. On the left side, the color balls, you can see how can be shown as mirror images. They are mirror images. Now, these two mirror images are non-superimposable. The second condition is non-superimposable. That means we cannot place one mirror image on other mirror image. That means these two mirror images are two different molecules. So you cannot place one molecule on the other molecule. Then if these two conditions are satisfied, then these two molecules are called enantiomers. They are nothing but mirror images and non-superimposable on each other. So altogether, three conditions we can remember to define enantiomers. First one, we have to select two stereoisomers. They must be stereoisomers. They must be mirror images, but they must not be superimposable. That means they should not be superimposed on each other. So if these three conditions are satisfied, then any such pair, any such two molecules which satisfy these three conditions are called as enantiomers. This is how you can define enantiomers. That means the pair of stereoisomers that are non-superimposable mirror images of each other are called enantiomers. Now you see mirror images. How mirror images generally happen? What is this mirror image? A easy, simple way of checking mirror image is our two hands. You can just extend your hands in front of you. You need not even go to any mirror. You just extend your two hands in front of you and check your right hand is the mirror image of your left hand. So both your hands are mirror images to each other. A very natural and day-to-day observable things. Two hands, palms. You can just check palms or hands, whatever it is. Both are mirror images to each other. But at the same time, they do not superimpose on each other. So your hands cannot be superimposed on each other unless you turn into different way. You can superimpose, but if you keep like that, you cannot superimpose. Your thumb cannot coincide with the thumb of the other hand. You can see here the butterfly, they are mirror images butterflies, but the difference here is on the butterfly on the left side there is a symmetry, there is element of symmetry. That means uh, that the butterfly can be equally divided into two parts. That means it can have two symmetrical parts. If such symmetry element is possible, if there is any such possibility that the molecules can be divided into two equal parts, then there is a possibility that that can be superimposed. If it has any center or any plane of symmetry, then any such symmetry exists, then there is a possibility that it is superimposed. If it is superimposed, then we cannot call it as stereoisomer, isn't it? So that's why it should be non-superimposable mirror image. Here you see, this is how, see this, middle is the carbon, red ball, some violet ball, two light green balls are there. If you have two green balls, then they can be, if you take the mirror images, but they can be easily superimposable. Why? Because the two, if you turn this on the right side, if you just turn it and you can superimpose. So that means such carbons which have two different but two molecules same, at least if you have two molecules, two substances same groups, then you cannot call that as superimposable. So the term comes here, chirality, chiral, achiral molecules. What is chiral molecule? Chiral molecule is or chiral carbon or chiral center. If chiral molecule means it must have a chiral center. Chiral center is nothing but the carbon if has are connected to four different groups or molecules, it is called chiral center. Here you can see the carbon is connected to chlorine one side, fluorine on another side, hydrogen another side, methyl is another. So four groups are different. If carbon is connected to four different groups, that carbon is called chiral. In the on the left side you can see carbon, central carbon is connected to methyl group, whereas in the three sides same hydrogens, hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. If such case is there, then it is called non chiral. So the molecule is totally not chiral, the carbon is also not chiral, whereas in the right side it is chiral molecule. So chirality is a essential condition for any molecule to be what optically active. So enantiomers are also called optical isomers because they have the property called optical rotation. So this optical rotation is a experimental method of determining or checking the optical activity of any compound, whether it is a enantiomer or not. So optical rotation is totally physical phenomena. Here the when a plane monochromatic light is passed through the molecule, if it is an enantiomer, then it changes or it rotates the plane polarized light by certain degree. So that property, that phenomena is called optical rotation, and that phenomena is a general phenomena exhibited by each and every optically active or enantiomer molecule. So every enantiomer exhibits optical rotation. That property is a unique feature of every enantiomer. So enantiomers are nothing but the stereoisomers which are mirror images but not superimposable on each other. They must contain chiral carbon. It is a mandatory. Chiral carbon means if four atoms attached to a carbon are different, or a carbon is attached to four different groups, then such carbon is called chiral carbon. So if it has chiral carbon, then it exhibits non-superimposable mirror image quality or characteristics. Its most important property is optical rotation. Just now I explained. You see, this is R and S configuration. It is how we generally consider two enantiomers, how to represent enantiomers. Otherwise we get confused because both look same. So how to identify which is one enantiomer and another is another enantiomer? So for that, this is a method given. We have to first of all identify four groups. Already I told you chiral carbon has four different groups. So if X is chiral carbon, for example, it is attached to four different groups A, B, C, D. Then we have to give priority orders based on the atomic number. We give priority orders. If priority order is A is the first one, second is B, third is C, fourth is D, then we keep D on the outside, that is opposite side, and we observe from the rear side, that is opposite to D. And if we observe ABC, if ABC are clockwise, that is first, second, third are clockwise, it is called R. If ABC are anti-clockwise, it is called S. So this is the only method of identifying R and S configuration. Here you can just see glyceraldehyde, a simple example. In glyceraldehyde, the chiral center is on the in the middle carbon. You can see where the middle carbon is having connectivity to four different groups. One is hydrogen, another is OH, third is CH2OH, another is CHO aldehyde group. So the priority is given like this. First atomic number is taken. Since the direct attached molecules have oxygen, OH in OH, carbon is directly connected to oxygen. That's why it is the first priority. Whereas next comes second is CHO, because the first is same carbon, but to that two oxygens are attached. That's why aldehyde comes second. And third priority is CH2OH, that is third one, because it is the carbon. After that carbon, it is attached to only one oxygen. And last comes only hydrogen, fourth one, priority 4. Now we observe priority 4 is opposite is taken, and we observe from opposite to the fourth one, and 1, 2, 3 are how they are in clockwise direction. That's why it is taken as R configuration. So glyceraldehyde we can write R, as well as also we can write as S. So R glyceraldehyde and S glyceraldehyde. If you change any two positions, 1 2 or 1 3 or 3 4 or 2 4, any two position, then it is converted into S configuration. Now we quickly look at the other things, diastereomers. But before going to diastereomers, we have to speak one more point, that enantiomers generally have same type of properties like boiling point, melting point, solubility. To some extent, some chemical properties also, to some extent, not all, but to some extent they also exhibit same chemical properties. But mostly they exhibit same physical properties, except one, that is optical rotation. In optical rotation, if R configuration, that is one enantiomer rotates a plane polarized light towards right, then the other enantiomer rotates the same light to the left. So that is the only difference between enantiomers. There is of course some chemical difference. We can observe its chemical difference or its chemical properties differently if and only if we use another reagent which is also chemically optically active. If another optically active compound is there, then these two enantiomers behave differently, they react differently. But if you take optically inactive reagent, then their chemical properties also same. So enantiomers have same physical and chemical properties almost, but they differ only in optical rotation. Now let us take diastereomers. Diastereomers are something different. We cannot have a proper definition for this, but to some extent we define. They are non-mirror images. First of all, they are not at all mirror images. Enantiomers are compulsorily they are mirror images, whereas diastereomers are not at all mirror images. They are non-identical also. They are not at all identical. But the only common feature between two diastereomers is that they are stereoisomers. That's it. So just stereoisomers, but they are not mirror images and they are not identical also. So such stereoisomers are called diastereomers. they have different physical properties and also chemical properties. So this is a quite clear-cut difference between enantiomers and diastereomers. The properties are all different here. They have different melting points and boiling points, and also densities and also solubilities. They have two or more stereo centers. Even here also we can have number of stereo centers which are common there. For example, you can see here, this is tartaric acid. Here we just look at this tartaric acid. The first two molecules are enantiomers. Why? Because they are mirror images to each other. Here R and R, there are two chiral centers in the middle. First is R configuration, second is also having R configuration. When you take their mirror images, we find S configuration and another also S configuration. Okay, so that they are called enantiomers. If you take R and S, here in the bottom, if you take R and S, then this RR, RS, these two are diastereomers because they are not at all mirror images. Similarly, the right side SS and RS, again these two are diastereomers because they are not at all mirror images. But the only thing is they are stereoisomers. That means stereoisomers, again we need to recollect the definition that they have same molecular formula and they have same connectivity. So up to that level, stereoisomers, they are correct, but they are not mirror images, and also they are not identical. If these two conditions are completed, then they are called diastereomers. Now let us look at the projections, different projections, how to write stereochemical representation of the molecule. The first most important is what we have to understand is Fischer projection. Here Fischer projection, you can see on the left side butanol. It is butanol, you can write OHCS3 on the same plane, whereas hydrogen is outside the plane, and ethyl group is in front of us, towards us. And we can write this also HH. But in Fischer projection, right side, on the complete right side, we write like plus with a, that means horizontal line, vertical line. There are two lines, and always remember that vertical lines go down. Whatever we are writing on the vertical line, that two groups are towards downside the paper, whereas the horizontal line, whatever the groups are there, that is HOH, they are upside the above the plane, and methyl ethyl are below the plane. So this is how to represent Fischer projection. So Fischer projection is always represented on the extreme right molecule, that is plus type. Two lines are given, horizontal line, vertical line, and the meaning is horizontal line is always upside, vertical line is always downside. They represent downside. So we can easily understand this by looking here. HOH are upside, methyl ethyl are downside. That is how we write the meaning of a Fischer projection. Another is wedge projection. Wedge is actually, this is what wedge means, a thick line is called wedge, and whenever we write thick line to represent above the plane, that is towards us, we have to represent another dotted line to represent below the plane, that means away from us. If such lines are represented, it is called wedge projection. Here also we can see here wedge projection of trios. We can just write here, already I told you Fischer projection and wedge projection, how to convert into each other. As I already told you, Fischer projection means it is upside, horizontal lines OHH are there, they are upside, we have to take upside, already you can see that, and CHO go down, isn't it? Similarly, on the second, the bottom carbon also, HOH come upside and CH2OH go down. So this is how we generally take into consideration and how to convert wedge into Fischer projection. Now you take this Newman projection. Newman projection means we write two carbons, or we generally don't represent one bond here. Here you see, first you check the second one, C to C3. C to C3 bond is not shown in the pictures on the right side. So we don't draw that line. C3 is represented on the back side, C2 is represented on the front side. and you can see on the front side we have C2 carbon, to which the attached molecules are C1, A, B. Already I am showing there. In the first no rotation, simple rotation, complex rotation, you see here in the no rotation, the first carbon is attached to C1, A, B, and the rear it is called front carbon. C3 is called rear carbon, that means backwards, it is written in the backward. To that DeC4 are there. So to the backward carbon DeC4 are connected. To the front carbon C1, A, B are connected. Now you see this. This is how we can write. And Newman projection means a circle is written given, on that three bonds are written on the upside, that is first carbon bonds, and to that circle we write just after the circle, that is called second rear carbon. We represent DeC4 just like how it is written. Now this is Sahar's projection. Here it can be written, Sahar's means it is a seesaw model. We see here on the left side it is Sahar's model. Here also we write first carbon is red ball and rear carbon is green ball. Here we write all the bonds just like in wedge model, but we don't write wedge. Wedge means thick lines or dotted line, we don't write. You can easily convert or easily understand Newman and Sahar's put together. Here you see Newman projection. First carbon are attached to OHHCS3. The similarly same way OHHCS3 are attached, or in the left side you can see. And again see the two carbons are connected with a long line. Again on the rear carbon we have CS3HH. Similarly here also we can see how they are connected. So Sahar's means the way how we write, that means we are observing the molecule from side way, whereas Newman projection means we are observing the molecule straight from one carbon, so that other carbon doesn't look. Other carbon is not at all observed, it is invisible. Whereas we are observing all the molecule from a side way, then we write Sahar's. If you look at the molecule from directly from one carbon side, such that other carbon does not visible, then it is Newman projection. This is how we generally write here, source Newman projection. So this is what we call as different projections. So up to now we have learned what is isomerism and the classification of isomerism, and what are constitutional isomers, what are chain isomers, what are functional isomers, what are positional isomers. After that we discussed about stereoisomers. In stereoisomers, enantiomers, what are enantiomers, what are the properties of enantiomers, and after that we discussed diastereomers. What are the main difference between enantiomers and diastereomers, how they differ. After that we discussed the projections, different projections of writing a molecule, how to write a molecule. Especially when we consider stereoisomerism, we know how to represent a molecule in three-dimensional model. For that we have different representations: wedge representation, Fisher representation, Sahar's representation, and Newman representation. So how we write wedge model, Sahar's model, Newman model, and Sahar's and Newman and Fisher model. They are all different models to represent the organic molecules, especially for writing stereo structures. Okay, this is one part. This is part 1 of isomerism, and we will discuss part 2 of the same topic in the next session. Okay, thank you very much. I will conclude my lesson by this.